So I agree with him.
Listen, he's not a mayor, he's a dictator, but I will have to say
but
that
he's done things for Akron.
Akron's the anomaly of the small city in Ohio, because if you look at Dayton, Toledo, Youngstown, and the others, that leadership void that Akron does not have. And by the way, he's very tight with the county commissioner, the county executive, which makes a big difference. You have to applaud him for that. I would say we don't have that type of vocal leadership in the city.
Go ahead, look at Akron in 1990 and look at it in 2010.
Oh, it's a different city entirely. Downtown's vastly different. Yeah.
It could have easily, Akron was sliding. And what happened is it went up instead of going down, and that was the reason. Again, you can agree with the politics, but there was someone there with a vision and stuff happened.
And we're not here right now talking about, I mean, and we're all in this room talking right now at this very moment about Akron and how passionate people are down in Akron. In Cleveland, we have, we could fill 100 rooms this size with people that are passionate about Cleveland. No one seems to be doing anything about it. It just seems like everybody's talking about, oh, we're going to get this, and oh, we're going to do that. Somebody step up to the plate and do something.
People are doing things, and we point them out every week in Cool Cleveland.
Right.
They're there if we pay attention. What I think Michael's getting to is, who do we honor? Who do we look to? And if we're going to honor the same old white men in these power positions, and not honor young people, especially young entrepreneurs, young emerging leaders like this, this should be filled. There should be 10,000 people. We should be doing this at Public Hall with all the young emerging leaders in this town, and we need to start to honor those people, put them in positions of power, put them on the boards, and listen to what they have to say, because it's obvious that the leaders. More applause?
Yeah, please.
Then bring it on. Because I'll tell you the truth, a lot of these folks have had their time in the sun, and it hasn't worked for us real well.
No, it hasn't.
So the days of the Fortune 500 in Cleveland tomorrow and this kind of leadership that we're still kind of in this hangover mode from, that we can't get over. We still look to these people, and yet they're not the real leaders and movers and shakers at all. They're not the ones who are going to define the agenda for the next century for us.
I want to know who looks to them. I mean, not as a whole, but let's be honest. I mean, when you wake up in the morning, you don't pray to the Power 100.
Right.
You pray to the people that you know are doing the work. And that's the challenge is, how do we bring to light the people who are making change?
That's the problem, is that we've got so many people that are doing and actively, I mean, I'm talking with entrepreneur groups, I'm talking with people that are starting small businesses. That's what I'm passionate about. So I'm trying to get out there. It's that we don't have people paying attention to the people that are trying to do something different.
Right.
So it does, I mean, I can sit there and scream and jump up and down on the table all day long, but if there isn't a TV camera or a reporter in front of me, it falls on deaf ears.
I mean, it comes down to being visionary. And we don't have a list of who are the power visionaries in the city.
That would have been a good list.
We have a list of who makes a lot of money in the city. And that's a nice list, but it's not about how to get a city to the different level.
Well, we got to get back on track on some other issues here. That could have taken up a whole hour right there. Entrepreneurship, yeah. Doug, this was for you. Does the city of Cleveland have all the elements in place to foster a new renaissance of entrepreneurship?
We have every single one of those pieces in place. The problem is they're all in their own little glass house. And getting all these different 3- and 4-letter acronym bodies together to actually do something is the tough part. There's this company who wants to fund this type of a research but doesn't want to look at these things, which could benefit them. We've got, and believe me, I'm a product of a lot of these, so I'm not poo-pooing it by any stretch. But and then we just talked about this at lunch. Jumpstart recently changed part of their model where they're not necessarily. Everybody doesn't have to go through the same steps anymore. It used to be that you had to go for like 5 or 6 meetings. You were vetted by this whole groups of people, and if you didn't have a business plan that showed that you were going to be a $30 million company in 3 to 5 years, they didn't want anything to do with you. And that's a load of crap.
Okay, well, let me ask this question. You look at their portfolio, name one that actually fit that criteria from investments made 3 or 4 years ago.
But
zero.
And that's the thing. And I sat there and I told them, look, I'm not going to have a $30 million company in 3 to 5 years. I'll have it in 10 years. I might have it in 15 years. I can't have it in 3. She's like, well, but we need to see that. Well, I'll show it to you, but it's lying. I'm not going to lie to you and say, I'll write whatever number you want down on this thing. I've got a room full of people that are just as passionate about this company as I am. I've got a phenomenal market. I've honed my plans. I've honed all these things. Sorry, can't help it.
But you've benefited from it.
Oh, I have.
You've gotten on the track. There literally is now an entrepreneurship continuum From things like the Cleveland Collectivo, which is a giving circle, and they're all over the country, but we've got strong ones here in this region, in Akron and elsewhere, where people are pitching in a couple $100 and giving little grants of $2,000. We've got the Civic Innovation Lab that Jennifer and myself have gone through, both on the funding side. I'm also a mentor and helping other groups where you get in the range of $30,000 and mentorship. You've got Jumpstart where you're getting in the range of $250,000. You've got venture capitalists who are going to give you in the range of a couple $1 million, if you will. I don't know that we've quite got the banks on board. We're missing a bank across the street now from this region.
Banks across
We're
the
missing
street.
a couple of that. But we literally have, compared to 5-10 years ago now, a continuum of entry points for entrepreneurs. And it may be in glass houses, and they may be distributed, and it's messy vitality, but that's okay. But it is here. And if you're in the business and you're looking for funding and you're looking, there are people to talk to that didn't exist here. It's exciting.
And you have that in Cleveland where you don't have that in any other city. And that's what's so phenomenal about this landscape. In 6 phone calls, I was saying to someone earlier today, I can get to probably any executive at any company in Cleveland. You can't do that in Boston. You can't do that in Chicago. You can't do that in New York. Any other company that's out there, it's like we're all on the same team. It's like, I don't want to say it's like a Civil War type thing, but it's like we've got all these different people that are, harumphing at each other about what it is that they need to do with the city. But when it comes down to it, if you're an entrepreneur, you're willing to roll up your sleeves, work 80 hours a week, and really listen to the advice people are giving you, you can do fine. You can build a business. You can have. I mean, I've got an office with I got 11 employees. I had more 3 this time.
Voice for this? I mean,
there needs to be. But
remember,
there's no agency in our current, Cuyahoga County. There's no single voice, and I'm not sure that there needs to be, but there needs to be people paying attention.
Not by
to the
that.
voices that
I'm
are
just
there.
saying, like a press voice. For example, in December, the 3 of us launched Lime Ribbon, but there are 2 other tech companies that launched within the same week.
Right.
Very little, if any, press even attached the fact that there were 3 tech companies in Cleveland launching with in the same week.
Yeah. But Cleveland is still ultimately thinks it's a corporate city.
That's what I'm getting.
And that's what. So we always look at the big things. We don't look at the mid-sized,
little
small.
corporations.
Well, no, not even corporate. But that vitality. Yeah. We absolutely have to make that transition so we understand. We're not going to get automatically the Fortune 500 company to move into Cleveland. Microsoft is not going to move to Cleveland. But we can grow our own Microsoft or grow something that might, or have a bunch of mid-sized companies. And we have to get our press, we have to get our leadership to understand that and be more sensitive to saying, wow, I mean, the story of companies launching and startups in the city, I think, is the best story never told.
I agree with you. And it just kind of struck me, we're all entrepreneurs on this panel.
Cleveland needs to get out of their head, one last point, that we don't make things out of metal anymore. Like this isn't what our city isn't it's not the steel town that it was, 50 years ago. We've got bustling entrepreneurs and people that want to do tech things here in Cleveland. Let them. Don't keep your eye on the past. Look at the future and what people like myself and other companies in the same circles are doing right now.
No, I agree. Moving on to leadership, we touched on this briefly earlier. Thomas, I'll just throw this one right at you. Power 100 came out. Impressed?
Yeah, we don't really pay attention, Cool Cleveland, to those people. So, I don't know that they affect the culture around here, and I don't mean artistic culture. I'm talking about the culture. It has changed regardless of what this typical leadership has done over the past 20, 30 years. So we kind of ignore them because they're really not a factor. The ones who are changing the culture are the ones that are the entrepreneurs, that are the artists, that are the visionaries. And we do try to focus on those people and interview them and ask them how they've done what they've done and show that this stuff is very accessible to everyday people. So I think lists like that face it, mainstream media itself, the story is that less and less people are reading that. So I don't know why we obsess over it. Less and less people really care to look at those kinds of ways of thinking about ourselves. What we need possibly is a social media sort of revolution and some focus there, because we do have some leadership in social media in this region, to get the impact and to maybe cooperate. When I put out a great interview with this guy, Todd V, down in Akron, that's just left and right. He just got a $500,000 Knight Foundation grant to start up a digital media academy and train people how to use cameras and journalism techniques. It's a partnership with Akron Beacon Journal. And it's a model for the rest of the country. Now, shouldn't all of us kind of get behind Todd and his two partners and sort of support that, regardless of whether the mainstream media decides to come down and do a little TV piece, which they're not, unless he has a sex scandal, right?